Hi, I'm Margaret from Margaret's Crafts. I wanted to share with you my knitting and crocheting that I've done over the month of October and into November. That I've made some Christmas gifts, some just some gifts that I've been making. And I wanted to start off with my finished items. As you know, before I was making this sweater for my husband. Well, it's done, both sleeves. The last time I worked on it, I had the body done and one sleeve done. Now I have both sleeves. The other sleeve is in and done. It's been washed. It's been washed. This sweater is, I made it out of the Deborah Norville's yarn, the Everyday Soft worsted, and the solid is the navy, and the print is blue tono. I used a US 4 and 5, which is a 3.5 millimeter and a 3.75 millimeter. I can't remember which pattern I used on this. I had it in the other notes. And I didn't like, it was to make the back higher, and I didn't like the way it was coming out. So I had to plug it, and then I used the, I didn't like the way that they did the raglan sleeves. So I used the way that she does it with the Tin Can Knits sweater. And I just did my sleeves like that, and then it was top down, so I could measure it as I went along to make sure it fits him perfectly. And I did the arms. I had him try them on as we went along, and it fits great. And it has been washed. This is machine washable because he likes his sweaters acrylic, because he likes to just don't have to worry about them. He throws them in the washer, and then we put them in the dryer to see how they came out, and they all came out. They come out really nice and really soft, and I think it's been washed twice, and there's no pilling on it at all. And it was her anti-pill yarn. So that one's done and out of the way, and he has that. That's his. The next thing I finished is another one of my hats with the pattern that I made up with just the long double brim. And the pattern is on my my blog. And this one I made for my middle son. And that's for Christmas. And it's made out of the same Deborah Norville worsted, the anti-pilling in black. So that's the third one. This is the medium-sized one. Now on the decreases, I don't know if I messed up because I wasn't paying attention, or either the numbers aren't right. So when I get down to the end, if I had an extra stitch when I was doing the decreases, I just stitched the one instead of doing the two. Instead of the knit two together. I also made a hat. Let's see if I can find it. This is the basket weave hat. It's supposed to be a basket weave hat and scarf from Premier Yarns. And I just used that gradient that I had showed you last time to make it into the gradient. The Premier Yarns DIY gradient. Excuse me. So I just did that, and then the leftovers, I made a pom-pom to put on top, and that's how it came out. It came out really nice. And I used a US size 6 for the ribbing and a 8 for the hat. And I just made it shorter because I was making it for a little girl and I didn't want it to be totally slouchy on her. But that's the hat. It's all done. The next thing I finished was some slippers. And I'm calling these the pink princess slippers. And these are just crocheted. Uh, the yarn is the Dreamweaver's yarn that I made the little princess blanket with. And I just made her some little slippers to go with it, with a little pom-pom on top. And the pattern is Nana's slippers, and I used an H hook or a 5.0 millimeter hook. And there's the two little slippers. This is such an easy pattern to make. The patterning is free. You can find it on Ravelry. And the last two items I started day before yesterday and finished them yesterday. I just made some washcloths. I needed a finish, and because all of my items that I have been working on were the larger items, so I needed a quick finish to cleanse my palette, and then I'll work on some more. So the first one I made is they're both from the pattern. It's called Basic Knit Dishcloth. From I think it's from Yarnspiration. And the first one I made out of, I was trying out, excuse me, I had the two different cottons. I had the Lily's Peaches and Cream, and I had the Hobby Lobby I Love This Cotton. So this is the Lily's Peaches and Cream. It's the pattern with that pattern, and I used the US 9 on this one. The pattern calls for a 9. So I was trying it out. This was a thicker yarn, so I used that one and made the washcloth out. This one was a little harder to work with your hands. On my hands, it seems like it was, because it's a little tougher, and I haven't washed them yet. I'm going to wash them when I'm done to compare the softness of how I like them. So that's the one, and it is done in pinky stripes. And the next washcloth I have, same pattern, but I used the Hobby Lobby's I Love This yarn in Paris in June. And I used a little less than half. Now this one I used the US 8 because it seems like it was a smaller, they were both worsted, but this seems like it was a lighter worsted than the Sugars and Cream. So that's that one. So I'm going to wash them and throw them in the dryer and see how the two compare. So that's what I'm going to do this afternoon. So I got two washcloths done. These, I decided I'm going to keep a washcloth going. So when I need just a quick fix of, this is truly non-thinking, you know, it's a free pattern. It's so easy. I may even do other patterns, you know, to try the different patterns out, the stitches, to see how I like the stitches. If I'm going to put them in my regular knitting, I'll just do a swatch out of a washcloth, a nice like 9x9, 10x10 washcloth size of the different knit stitches, and see which knit stitch I like to do. And that's all my finished items. I have 2 works in progress. Oh, the hat, both hats and the washcloths were, and the slippers were started and finished since I did it the last time. The only carryover I had was the sweater, and these socks are carryovers. Uh, it's just a simple rib pattern that I'm making up. There's no pattern for it. I'm just calling it an 8x4 rib. And the yarn is here we go. The yarn is Patton's Croy FX in the Celestial colors. And where I was the last time on this one, I was like the 3-inch mark. And now I've gone down and put the heel in and started, I got like about 2 inches down the foot. So, and this one I was just partially into the ribbing. So this one is done. The heel is in. And I switched over and started working on the other ones. These are like my carry around things that I just carry in the car when we're going to doctor's appointments and stuff like that. And the last item that I'm working on is this Horseshoe Throw. That's the name of it. Let me just show. The Horseshoe Throw blanket by, let's see, Amy Nesler, and it's out of the Creative Knitting, the Best of Creative Knitting, the November 13th, 2017 magazine. And the yarn that I'm using is that yarn that I showed you, the Dream Weavers, in a brown. They don't have a name on it. And I'm holding my thread double because I want it to be extra large. I want it to be extra thick. I made it longer or wider than the pattern called for by several stitches. It's like a third or a fourth. It's about a third longer. It's still bunched up on the needles too, because I don't have a needle long enough. But I want like almost like for a twin size bed, but it's just going to be a big throw, and it's going to be, I think I'm going to do 7 or 8 foot long. Right now I have about 24 inches done. And there's the pattern. It's a cable. Then you're going to pick up, you do a ribbing at the bottom, and you're going to pick up and do the sides. But it is so squishy. This one I love working on. I lay this over my lap now that it's cold and spread it out as I'm working over it to make it nice and soft. And the needles that I'm using are US 10.5. That's the, I think it called for 11s. No, it called for 13. I didn't like the way that the 13 looked. It was too open. So I had ripped it out and started it over again, especially down with the ribbing. I did not like the way the 13 looked in there. So I ripped it out, even with holding this yarn, which is pretty thick. even with holding that doubled, it's still, I didn't like it. It was just too open and weavy. So I switched down to the next, believe it or not, the next size was the 10.5, the 6.5 millimeter. That's what I used on the ribbing. And then I switched to the US 11s is what I'm doing the stitching on. Because they called for, no, I'm doing this all on the US 11. I didn't do the, I don't know why that's on there. Because I didn't, the ribbing isn't smaller. So I did a US 11 instead of a US 13. So that's what I have so far. It's coming along really nicely, and it's going to be real warm. I like it because you can't hardly see through it at all. And that's what I wanted, a nice snuggly blanket for when my husband lays in his chair. And he's 6 foot tall, so I wanted it, I'm thinking about doing it 8 foot so it can go down over the bottom of his foot and still he can have it to come up around his neck when he's taking a nap. So those are all my finishes and my works in progress. Now for what I've purchased, my goodies over the past 2 months. To start off with, I don't know whose blog I found this on, or I saw this on, but this came from Target, and it was $10, and I like how it opens up wide. So this is what I carry around. You know, I just throw it in the back of it stays in the car. And so when I take it out, I can just grab it and go in when we have an appointment. And I have my socks, 2 skeins of yarn, my glasses. Sometimes when I go someplace, it's a little dark. So I have this little bag that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, which matches it pretty good, the grays and the blue. And I have a light that my son had got me last year for Christmas with the, and it also has a charger. It has a built-in, you know, battery, and it has the charger for it. So I have that in there. What is that called? The Beam and Read light. So I keep that in there. So if I'm going somewhere and it's dark, I just put that around my neck and the light shines down on it. I have my 2 socks, 2 balls of yarn, and I have this little thing that I picked up that matches the pouch. I also picked this up from the Dollar Tree. And this is like a knitting, a nail thingy, manicure set. But it unzips like that and opens up. And I kept the little scissors for snipping stuff with, and the nail. And I kept the file. And what I did was I replaced and put my big needles. I put a little magnet in there to hold my little stitch markers and my needle. And I have the needle, and I have my if I drop a stitch, my little like a crochet hook with the point on the end that stays in there. And then if I need, and it also has the thing to tighten up my needles if I need it. And I put a piece of little rubber glove in there to hold it while I tighten it up. And that's all in one little notions pouch that I just keep down in there. And it closes up very nicely, like that. It has a pocket on the outside and a pocket, a zip pocket on the inside. I bought 2 skeins of this. I love this cotton. I bought the one that I showed you in the Paris in June. It's blues and yellow. Here we go. And then this one is called Spunky. And it's like tans with pinks and pale blues. And we go. And Joann's had some 60% off coupons, so of course I go in there and buy sock yarn. And I thought that was nice for my husband. I bought 2 skeins of this, and it is called Gray Marl. You can always use some gray socks. And then Joann's had a sale, and they had their, since I love how the Deborah Norville washes up, this is made out of the Deborah Norville, and so is my husband's sweater. And I got enough to make, I got to go back and get some more of the black, because I bought all they had, so I can make a black sweater for me and a black sweater for my husband. And it's the Deborah Norville Everyday Soft Worsted, and the heather, and the colorway is charcoal heather. And this was on sale for, it's just black with the heathery look. This was on sale for $1.99. And to go with it, I got the gray heather to do as an accent color on the sweater. I got enough for, just about enough for me and my husband. And I think that's all. Yeah, that's all that I have. Thank you very much for watching my videos. Have a great holiday season. Bye.